So, one of my least favorite things to do in the world ever, and I hate doing it, but it's one of those things that you just should really do and stay on top of, is something called reconciling your checkbook. Basically, you're comparing your information to the bank's information every month when you get your bank statement. You lay out your checkbook register, you go with your statement side by side, and you just go back and forth and you check off information from one to the next. Now, what will happen, unfortunately, is a lot of times your bank will have information listed in your account that you're not aware of. Maybe you've had some sort of service charge, maybe you've earned interest, and those aren't things that you'd know about until the month has been closed. The flip side of that, you may have information recorded that your bank doesn't know about, especially if you write a check towards the end of the month and you have to mail it somewhere. A lot of times, if you'll pay your credit card bill or whatever is due at the first of the month, so you'll write that check and send it off towards the end of the month. We just finished October, so I would pay, my Visa bill, and I sent that off the week before Halloween. My bank may not know about that, and it may not process until the first part of November. So they're not aware that this check has been written, but I had it recorded in my register. So it's not hard. It's just tedious, and I'm not a fan of tedious things. I'm not a fan of just like the having to keep track of the minute details, but it's something you should do. And as a responsible adult, and if you're going to be responsible with your money, you really should learn how to do this. I can't tell you that the way I'm doing it is perfect. I can tell you that the way I'm doing it works, though. There may be a form that you can get from your bank to help you out with that. But so the idea is the bank may have track of things that you're not aware of, and you may have kept track of things that the bank's not aware of. So you have to reconcile the two sets of books. So basically, you're going to add and subtract things from your register that you aren't aware of, and then you're going to add and subtract things from the bank statement that the bank isn't aware of. And hopefully, when you're down at the end, your numbers match in both sets. Okay, so it's kind of hard to wrap your head around at first, but the idea is there's two sets of numbers out here, and you want them to match at the end. So the way I have this set up on your homework, it's a spreadsheet, and hopefully it being a little bit more linear, it's easier to see what's going on from one to the next. So again, the idea is, we're going to get our statement at the end of the month, and there's going to be some information that the bank isn't aware of, that we're going to have to subtract out. Those are called outstanding debits and deposits. Okay, so the bank doesn't know about them. They haven't processed yet for whatever reason. So that's what that word outstanding means. It not outstanding like, yay, they're really good. Outstanding is in like the bank's not aware of them. Okay, so we're going to take the bank's statement balance, what they say we have at the end of the month, and if it doesn't match what we have, we're going to have to account for any outstanding checks, payments and debits, and then any sort of outstanding deposit. Okay, I'm going to clean this up and just to kind of the words, and we'll just call it outstanding payments and outstanding deposits, especially on your homework. So again, it's in a spreadsheet, so I didn't have this gigantic cell that says outstanding checks, payments, and debits. I went just outstanding payments. Okay, so we'll do one of these just kind of very straightforward, and then I'll show you the form that I've set up. All right, so your statement balance is $598.67. You have an outstanding check for $125.44, an outstanding debit of $235.42, and an outstanding deposit of $231.98. What's your adjusted balance? So you basically need to put yourself in the bank's point of view. Okay, you have $598.67 on your statement, but the bank, we're going to take care of these outstanding things. We have a check that the bank doesn't know about. We have a debit that the bank doesn't know about. And we have a deposit that the bank doesn't know about. Okay, so take a second and actually do the math on this. Start with what the bank thinks you have, subtract out the two things that you know about that the bank doesn't, and then add on the deposit that you know about that the bank doesn't. Have a new adjusted balance. You've adjusted the numbers, so you should have in your account $469.79. Okay, so what you're going to do is that idea, but set up in a little bit better format here. So, all right, this is what your homework's going to look like partially. I've got a scenario like we just did, and I've got this reconciliation form for you to fill out. You've got two sets of books on the left. This is your checkbook register, the little book that you keep in your checkbook. We say that we have $1,254.33 in it, and then I've got some adjustments that I'm going to have to make. The other half of this over here, this is what's on your bank statement. You get your statement and it says, hey, you have $2,593.77, but there's some adjustments that you know about. So we're going to kind of go back and forth from left to right here. All right, so Mark's checkbook register has a balance of $1,254.33. That is this number here. He compares his statement with his check register. His check register says this over here. So obviously there's like $1,300 difference that we need to figure out. He notes that the bank paid him $4.86 in interest. They paid him. So when I add that to my list here, that is going to be something that I add on. Interest is what the bank pays you, so that's almost like an extra deposit. The bank paid him $4.86 in interest and deducted a $250 service charge, $2.50 service charge. So maybe he, had an ATM fee or something. So on our end, on our checkbook register, it's a lot easier to adjust because we've accounted for all the stuff that the bank doesn't know about. So I've got my checkbook register. I'm going to subtract off my service fee. I'm going to add on my interest. That gives me a new balance of $1,256.69. Now, hopefully, after we do all of our work here, the number down here will match. If it doesn't match what we have, basically scrap it and start over. All right, so I'm going to go through. I've already got this stuff typed in just to kind of save a little bit of time here. So I've got my statement balance here. This first little section right here is for outstanding payments. I've got check 845 for $251.75. I've got check 847 for $1235.47. I'm going to total those up, and that goes in this box here. The total, so I don't have to subtract them one at a time. I'm going to total that up, $1,487.22. Similarly, I'm going to do my deposits. I have an outstanding deposit that the bank doesn't know about for $150.14. If I have multiple deposits, I would do the same thing. I would list them out individually and then total them up. Okay, that's why those numbers are the same. I had one deposit, so my total deposits and my single deposit were the same. I'm going to take my statement balance. I'm going to subtract off any deposits that the bank doesn't know about, and I'm going to I'm going to subtract off any checks, and I'm going to add on any deposits. The numbers match. If they don't match, you're going to have to go back and start this whole process over again. Just be diligent about what you're doing. Add where you're supposed to add, subtract where you're supposed to subtract. Your homework looks exactly like this. I cleaned it up a little bit, but it's this format. You've got your register on one side, your bank statement on the other.